If your first instinct when something breaks is to fix it yourself, if you remember when MTV actually played music, and if you can parallel park without a backup camera, this video is already talking to you. Not because you're stubborn or old-fashioned, but because you're wired differently in a way most people never stop to question. There's a calm you carry that shows up when things go wrong, a reflex to figure it out instead of panic. And that didn't come from confidence or personality. It came from how you were shaped, long before anyone was asking how you felt about it. And that's the part most people completely miss. Most mornings didn't start with questions or check-ins. They started with a door opening and a simple expectation. You went outside, and you didn't come back until the light started to change. No phone in your pocket, no way to be reached, no constant updates. For hours, you existed beyond supervision, beyond instant rescue. You didn't feel abandoned. You felt trusted. You wandered. You got lost. You figured out streets and shortcuts and unspoken rules of the neighborhood. And without realizing it, your brain was learning something essential. The world doesn't pause to guide you, and you're capable of navigating it anyway. That quiet freedom didn't make you reckless. It made you self-directed, grounded, and surprisingly steady when things went off script. When something went wrong, there was no crowd watching and no one stepping in halfway. You scraped your knee, your bike chain slipped, an argument got heated, and you handled it because that was the only option available. You learned through doing, not through instructions. Getting lost meant reading signs and landmarks, not calling for help. Bored afternoons meant inventing games, building something out of nothing, or just sitting with your thoughts until an idea showed up. That repetition quietly trained your mind to move from confusion to action without drama. You didn't learn problem solving as a skill. You absorbed it as a reflex. Most of the adults around you didn't explain emotions or narrate inner worlds. They had lived through real instability, or were raised by people who had, and they believed strength showed up in action, not discussion. There were no long talks about motivation, no rehearsed encouragement. Instead, you were given responsibility and expected to rise to it. You were trusted with real tasks, real consequences, and real expectations. That trust carried a quiet message your nervous system never forgot. You matter because you contribute. Over time, that shaped how you see yourself under pressure, not as someone waiting to be reassured, but as someone who steps in when something needs to be done. By the time you were still technically a kid, you were already functioning like a small adult in subtle ways. You watched younger siblings, made simple meals, figured out how to fix things with whatever tools were nearby. Life didn't wait for you to feel ready, and neither did anyone else. That didn't harden you. It calibrated you. You learned early that responsibility isn't a punishment. It's a signal of trust, and because of that, pressure never felt like an attack. It felt familiar. What most people call stress, you recognized as a situation that simply needed handling, one step at a time, without noise. There were long stretches of time where nothing happened at all. No screens to fill the silence, no notifications to pull your attention away, just hours that felt endless. And that boredom wasn't comfortable. It forced your mind to stretch instead of being entertained. You built worlds out of scraps, replayed conversations in your head, or stared off until imagination took over. We later decided boredom was something to eliminate, something to protect kids from. But in doing that, we quietly removed a training ground for creativity and emotional regulation. Your brain learned how to sit with emptiness without needing to escape it, and that ability still shows up when life slows down or falls apart. Failure didn't come with padding or applause. You fell, you missed, you got rejected, and the world kept moving. There were no trophies for showing up and no long explanations to soften the impact. Effort mattered more than comfort, and results mattered more than excuses. You learned quickly that getting back up was part of the process, not a moment deserving special attention. That repetition built resilience in a quiet, practical way. You stopped fearing mistakes because mistakes weren't treated like emergencies. They were treated like information, and that changed how you approach challenges even now. When everything starts to unravel, you don't freeze the way people expect you to. You slow down. Your voice drops. Your focus narrows. That calm people notice isn't personality. It's muscle memory. You've been here before in different forms, solving problems without instructions, sitting with discomfort without reaching for distractions. Your nervous system learned early how to regulate itself under pressure. You weren't trained to be loud. You were trained to be steady. And that steadiness shows up now, in meetings, in crises, in moments where others are overwhelmed and you're already moving toward a solution. You grew up dialing rotary phones and writing things down by hand, then adapted without fear to smartphones, email, and constant connectivity. You remember conversations that weren't interrupted and patience that wasn't optional. That makes you a bridge between two completely different worlds. You're comfortable with technology without being dependent on it, and comfortable with silence without feeling disconnected. That balance gives you perspective most people never develop. The ability to see trends without being consumed by them, and to move forward without losing yourself in the noise. Your childhood wasn't easier, and it definitely wasn't softer. It just didn't pretend that life would adjust itself around you. There were no training wheels, no constant instructions, no guarantee that someone would step in at the exact moment things got uncomfortable. And that honesty is what made the difference. It taught you how to stand on your own without resentment, how to move through pressure without losing yourself, and how to stay grounded when everything feels uncertain. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, you already know why. This isn't nostalgia, it's understanding. And if you want to see how those early patterns still shape your daily habits today, you're exactly where you should be.